All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I hope you guys can hear me. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Awesome. Beautiful. Okay. So, if you can please do me a favor, probably write on the class WhatsApp group that the link for our today's session is on Moodle under live session, where we usually find the links for live sessions, where the recordings are. Because I think I received some notification there of students joining using other links on Zoom and all that. We are not on Zoom. So if you can probably do me a favor in that regard, just to ensure that we are all in the same room. All right. So I hope you guys are well. So this morning we're going to carry on from where we left last week. So remember chapter 5 we covered the theory-based section, and now we're going to discuss the House of Quality, which is one of the tools of the quality function deployment. So we're going to understand what is really going on there when we are talking about the building a house of quality. So let me open my slides. Okay, let me share my screen so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Share. Let me share the entire screen. I think that's better. Forgot. Let me stop sharing and share again. I forgot to share the sound. So entire screen sound. Okay. Beautiful stuff. So as I was saying, obviously you'll go under live sessions, as you guys know, and you'll find the link right here. The Zoom links that we're using because I didn't have access to Moodle at that time. But now I do have access, so there is no need for us to use Zoom. All right, so as I was saying, let me just check something quickly, guys. All right, so chapter 5, we're gonna go straight. I mean, we are almost done. What we are going to cover today and next week we'll do a quick revision on the House of Quality, and then we'll be ready for test 2. We have covered all this. All this we have covered. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the House of Quality. The House of Quality. So in the House of Quality, obviously in anything you need to follow certain steps in order to conduct that analysis or build a House of Quality, especially from scratch. So in this slide here, we have the different steps that you as an operations manager need to follow in order to build a House of Quality from scratch. But don't worry too much about the steps, because I believe the way that I will be explaining from the House of Quality itself you should be able to understand exactly what you need to do in order to build a house of quality, whether from scratch or from a statement given to you. So number one, it says that identify customer wants. And I remember asking you guys this question, that how do you identify customer want? How do you identify customer need? And that takes us to the market research. So it could be using interviews, market survey, which is under the umbrella of the market analysis. And that is what is going to give you information or insight about customer wants. To identify how the good and services or service will satisfy customer want or customer need or customer requirement. Number three, relate customer want to product house. So house here are the attributes or the things that a company can do in order to satisfy the customer want. That's what we call the house or the product attribute or attribute. Number four, say identify relationships between the firms. How? So the things that the company can do in order to satisfy the customer wants are what we call the house. Now, in the process of building a house of quality, you also need to establish the relationship between amongst the house, the things that the company can do. Develop importance ratings. So you have to rate the customer requirement or customer wants, but we'll do that. Don't worry, guys. We're going to break this down. From the house of quality, you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about here. Now, I'd say evaluate competing products. So this is what you also call the competitive assessment, comparing your current product with the competitors' products. Now, I say compare performance to these two desirable technical attributes. So we're not going to talk about the technical attributes too much because that is not at your level, right? So this is how a house of quality looks like. Let me just shift this. Getting to shift your tone, but it doesn't matter. So this is how a house of quality looks like. So let me take my laser here so that you can see my cursor. Perfect. So on this graphic representation here, at your level, we're not going to consider this part here and this part here. So our focus will be mainly on this upper part here. So now, what is going to happen here? The reason why we call it as a house of quality is that the design looks like a house, whereby you do have the roof and other part of the house, like the walls and all that. So now on top here, you can see the shape here. This looks like a roof of the house, right? Now, what do you need to know in terms of building a house of quality from scratch? Obviously, at your level, if we are asked to build a house of quality from scratch, we will provide you with the template. So there is a template that will be given to you. And then from the information that's at your disposal, now you can extract the information and build a house of quality. So basically filling in the template with the information that you have or you are given. So now let's describe the different part of the house of quality. Here in the roof here. Okay, usually I like starting with the customer want because it must start there. Understanding customer want, which we also call the voice of the customer. I think we spoke about the voice of the customer. Now, this side here is what you call the voice of the customer, or you can also call this section here customer wants or customer desires. So customer desires is acquired from a market analysis, right? Interviews, market survey, asking questions based on the product that the company is designing. And then from there, you're going to collect that information. And that information will be inserted in the house of quality right here. And this is what you call the customer want. Now, here, you're also going to rate the customer want. So it could be from the customer's perspective to rate their wants, or you as a business, you should do so that you clearly can see what's really going on. So these are what you call the ratings, right? So the highest number means that is the most important customer want. So that will be in this column here. Now, once you are done with this part, you move on with this section here. And this section here represents the things that the company do in order to satisfy customer want here. Based on your research analysis, customers will what they want on the Now, you as a business, how are you going to ensure that you meet those specific requirements? That is where the product attribute comes in. Now you are going to provide the element, right, that you will use in order to satisfy customers' want. Now, once you are able to come up with those elements, that is what you call the house. They are also called the house, right? The house. Now, they can also call them the attribute. So the things that the company is able to do in order to satisfy customers' want. Now, on the roof here is the relationship among those relationships levels right here. So once you are done with this establishing the relationships, now you are going to move on to what you call now the relationship matrix, because here you have the product attribute, here you have the wants, and now you are going to establish the relationships. So basically you are now creating, or you are showing how the attributes here are going to satisfy the want on the side. So creating the relationships here, right? So this is what you call the relationship matrix. Now, this side here is what you call the competitive assessment. So competitive assessment here is you now going to compare your product or your design with the competitors' products that are already in the market. So that's what you called a competitive assessment. So you put your competitors' names here based on their product in the same industry, and then you compare with your current design and see how well their product are able to satisfy this customer's requirement. So this takes time. It's not a one-day, task that can be completed. It takes time, goes to market research. You need a lot of insight, right, in order to come up with a house of quality. So once that is done, now the last part here is what you call our importance ratings. So here it should be written our importance ratings. And this is exactly where the importance ratings are, whereby you will need to do some kind of calculations here in order to come up with the weighted ratings. But we're going to see how to perform or to compute those calculations. So that is the overview of a house of quality. So you have the different departments that you need to have, and also the necessary information that you need to input into each of the compartment of the house of quality. So the last part here, as I mentioned before, we're not going to touch it. So that is not at your level. As you progresses, probably you will have the opportunity to talk about the target values and technical evaluation. But that is mostly for those who are doing operations management. That's their major. Right. So now in this example here, we are referring to a company called Great Cameras Inc. So obviously this company is involved in producing cameras, right? Producing cameras. Now they are coming up with a new design, a new product, a new camera. Now they have conducted a market research. So usually what the company does is that it could also produce, for instance, a prototype, right? And then release it to the market so that customers can give their views on how they perceive that product and all that. And then that is where the proper design can take place. And as a business also, you're not going to interview just any customer, right? You must have a niche market or a target pool of customers. And this should be probably the customers are familiar with cameras, So those should be your target market. So after conducting a market research, this company was able to come up with this customer want here based on the cameras that they are planning to release to the market that they are designing. And customers say that they want a product that is lightweight, a product that is easy to use. It must also be reliable, easy to hold steady, color correction in terms of pixel or something like that. So you can see, you as a business, for you to get all this insight, or for this company to get all this insight, it needed to interrogate customers, right? So that they can get this insight. And this insight will guide the designing team or the business in terms of now providing the element that will satisfy this customer desires or customer requirement. So again, on this side, this is what I was referring to as, in this case, is the product attributes, right? The element or the things that the organization or the company can do in order to satisfy this requirement. And obviously, this again goes back to the company, and the company will study this requirement and see how best they can identify probably the materials, right? The equipment in order to ensure that all these requirements or needs are met. So on this side here, we have, for instance, low electricity requirements. We have aluminum components, auto focus, auto exposure, paint palette, ergonomic design. And obviously, by looking at this, you can easily establish a relationship with some of the ones here. So again, this is generated based on the customer want. So they need to know the customer want first, and then they can come up with the house So the house here are the element that the company can do, or the materials that they need in order to satisfy customers, the customer's requirement, or customer need, or customer want, or customer desires. Now, once that is done, you will now move to the roof here. So the roof here is going to provide the different relationship levels, right, amongst these elements here. This is where the relationships amongst the elements are established. So on the next slide here, obviously we still have the customer wants. Here you have the house, so the product attribute. And now, before even we move to the roof, you can see here you do have the ratings. So the ratings here just a kind of classifying this customer want based on their level of importance. So only for instance, I have to ask you guys to build. So yeah, it depends on how you understand your product, and also how the market research was conducted, and also the availability of the materials and all that. So if you are asked to build a house of quality from scratch, different people or different employees will come up with different houses of quality. So I think that we need to understand from the beginning. But in our test, we will ensure that and we look at with the same house of quality. That is just to ease the process of marking. Now, in this case here, we have 5 ones here. So you need to rate them based on their level of importance. So here I say that the highest number shows the ones that is more important than the others. Now the others. So here you have 5 reliable. So meaning that reliable is the most important here. Followed by number 4, easy to use. Number 3, lightweight. Number 2, easy to hold steady. And the less important here is color correction. So again, this is going to depend on you as the person who, or the company that knows its business or knows the product. So you're going to rate that. Now, once the ratings are provided, obviously, this will again depend on you as the owner of the product or of the business. Now, on top in the roof here, is the establishment of the relationships. Now, for you to establish these relationships, you need to create a legend, right? So if you are building a house of quality from scratch, you have to create a legend, right? And from that legend, you're going to use the different symbols in order to represent the relationships. So if you check on this side here, we have this legend here. This sign means high relationship, and between bracket is 5. We're going to make use of those numbers later on. You have this symbol here of the sign. This represents a medium relationship. Usually between bracket for a medium relationship is 3. I'm not saying all the time, but in this case here, between bracket, they were supposed to write 3, but they didn't write. And then you have this sign here, which means a low relationship. So between bracket, it's 1. The number associated with that is 1. But don't worry, we're going to make use of those numbers toward the end of building a house of quality. So now, how are you going to go and provide the relationships here? So again, this depends on you as a business. Like I said, if I give this to all of you guys to build a house of quality from scratch, obviously you're going to come up with different houses of quality. So that is the essence. So we need to understand that. Now, if you, in the process of building this house of quality, component, if you find that there is a relationship there, right, you will provide a symbol here to show that there is a relationship there. And what kind of relationship that is there? Is it a high relationship, a low relationship, or a medium relationship? So based on your symbols here or the signs, you're going to input the correct sign there just to represent the relationship. So what is happening here? We have low electricity requirement. We also need to know how to extend a specific column. We have low electricity requirement in this column here. In order for you to go up to the roof, you only have one option. So this column could be extended this way, right? It goes up and then it goes this way. That is the only option. When it comes to aluminum components, there are two ways of extending this column. You can either go this way, right? Or you go this way. Those are the two options of extending this column. The same applies for the remaining column. For instance, auto exposure. Auto exposure here has two ways. You can go this way or you can go this way. So ergonomic design is also the same like low electricity requirement. You only have one option. You can only extend this column this way. Now, that is just to explain how you are going to use the intersection whereby the two column will meet. And then that is where you are going to input the appropriate symbol to represent the relationship. So in this case here, this company believes that autofocus and low electricity requirements, the two will meet right here because we are looking for the intersection of the two. So autofocus, you extend, and low electricity requirement, you also extend, and these two columns will meet right here. And according to what we have here, the symbol used is this one here, so meaning that there is a higher relationship. So this symbol here suggests that low electricity requirement and autofocus have a higher relationship. So low electricity requirement and auto exposure. So obviously, as I said, for auto exposure, you have two ways here. Either you extend this way or you extend this way. So since we are looking for the intersection between auto exposure and low electricity requirement, so auto exposure, you will extend it this way so that they can meet right here. So that will be the intersection where you're going to input the relationship symbol. And in this case here, we do have this symbol here. And this symbol suggests that there is a high relationship between low electricity requirements and auto exposure. So the same applies to the remaining relationship levels. So here you will also read the same way. So you just need to know how to extend the column so that you can see that intersection, and then you input the appropriate symbol. Let us assume that there is a relationship between autofocus and ergonomic design. So autofocus, you will go up here and you go this way because we are looking for the intersection of autofocus with ergonomic design. So we'll go this way because ergonomic design will come from this side and then they will meet here. Let us assume that it's a low relationship. So you also input this symbol here to show that there is a low relationship. All right. So once you are done with this, with the roof, the next part of the step is now to move on to the relationship matrix. Right. So the relationship matrix here is this section of the house. So in this section of the house, obviously you still need these symbols here. So the legend, you need to create that legend. Sometimes you can have different symbols for the relationship matrix here compared to the relationship
Hello.
of the attribute. Yes.
No, not yet. Okay. Mm, They're doing that house of quality. Hey, me, I'm lost. I don't even know what's happening. I'm just there. Can I listen? House of quality. That drawing that he said is cuts for 50% in the next test. Just join, you will see. It's been a long time. My network was bad. So me, I don't understand what's happening. So unless you're gonna he's gonna put the recording, then we can just watch this again.
Okay, I don't know the student
Vincent.
who's talking there, but let me just, I think, I don't know if it's Perpetuate, I think that should be you. Please be careful because I think you might criticize me or us here, and we are going to hear that. That is not going to be nice for you. Please. So, guys, please be careful with your mics. Before you talk, ensure that your mic is off because you might say something there that is inappropriate and that is not going to sit well with us. So please be very careful, especially when your mics are on. All right, so where was I? Yeah, I was now talking about the 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 relationship matrix here. So this is now where you're going to establish the relationships between the attribute here and the customer one. So in here, as I was saying, is that you might be having a legend that has different symbols for this section here compared to the roof here. So it depends on you or depending on the instructions that is given to you. But in this case here, we do have the same symbols that are used in the roof and also in the relationship matrix. Now, here again, you're going to establish the relationships based on satisfying this customer want. Now, what is happening here is you also going to check, you still talk about in terms of the intersections. So lightweight and low electricity requirement. What kind of a relationship is there? So obviously here it has already been established. So we're going to just read what is here. Lightweight and low electricity requirement have a low relationship. So these symbols here again represent a low relationship between lightweight and low electricity requirement. Now, lightweight and aluminum components, they have a relationship. And based on the symbols that is here, this suggests that they have a medium relationship. Lightweight and autofocus, based on what we have here, they don't have a relationship. If there is no relationship, you leave it empty. You don't need to put anything there. But if you were also building this house of quality from scratch, you might say, okay, lightweight and autofocus, probably they do have a relationship based on your analysis, and you can also justify that to the team. Because it's not just a matter of just putting the symbols, but you need to be able to justify, because it's a teamwork. You need to be able to justify to your colleagues that, okay, lightweight and autofocus, they do have a medium, a high relationship because of this and this and this, so that you can agree and move forward, right? But in this case here, lightweight and autofocus, they don't have any relationship there, so we leave it there. The same for lightweight and auto exposure. There is no relationship. The same for paint palette and economic design and lightweight. In this scenario, they have a medium relationship, right? Represented by this symbol here. I mean, they have a low relationship, yeah, represented by that symbol that suggests that there is a low relationship. Now, moving on to easy to use, it's still the same approach. Easy to use and low electricity requirement. What kind of a relationship that is there? It's like you are also looking for the intersection between this column here, if you pull it down, and this column here, easy to use. So the intersection is here. And here we have this symbol that suggests that there is between easy to use and low electricity requirement, there is a low relationship. Now, easy to use and aluminum components, there is no relationship, so you leave it empty. However, easy to use and autofocus, they have a medium relationship. The same for to exposure, paint palette, and economic design. So these are the type of relationship that you should come up with. So again, if you're building this house of quality from scratch, in your analysis or in the process, you might say between easy to use and autofocus, there is no relationship. So again, that is an approach that you can follow with your team and justify to them so that you guys can agree and move forward with the process of building the house of quality. So you follow the same process for all the remaining customer wants here. So you have to fill them, right? If there is a relationship, you put the appropriate number. Now, you can see here you only have the symbols or the signs. You don't have the numbers in this relationship here, relationship matrix, or in the row here. We don't use the number in the relationship matrix or in the row here. Now, you guys are I'm gonna show you how we're going to make use of these numbers between brackets. So once the relationship matrix here is completed, what you are going to do next is now compute our importance ratings. So how do you come up with these numbers here? Because these numbers here are going to help you in terms of resource allocation. So the highest number is going to be the critical, point whereby most resources should be, allocated to that specific point in order to, or specific element, probably in terms of getting the equipment, the raw materials and things like that, right? So in other words, you are prioritizing the product attribute that need to be taken into account where resources need to be gathered in order for that attribute to be completed or to be sourced or something like that. So you are getting some kind of priority here. Now, our importance ratings here, I'm going to show you how to come up with this number 22. So based on the legend here, there are numbers between bracket. So that means each symbols here or sign is associated with a specific number. That's what we have here between bracket. If you see these symbols here, meaning that these symbols are now associated with a 5. This symbol here, the medium one, is associated with a 3. Obviously, it's not written here, but it's 3. Low relationship symbol here is associated with 1. So now, how do you come up with this 22? You're going to take the customer importance rating here for lightweight, because there is a relationship. So we are going to take 3 times the number associated with this symbol here, which is 1. So that is 3 times 1. All right. And you move below. Here, you're going to take 4 times the number associated with this. So in other words, let me start again. It's 3 times 1 plus 4 times 1 again plus 5 times the number associated with this symbol here. Here I said is 3. So that is going to be plus 5 times 3. And since here you do not have any relationship symbols here, so you leave it like that. So let me repeat that again. Here there are no symbols, so you leave it like that. So your focus will always be where there is a symbol or there is a relationship symbol. So here you're going to take 3 times 1 plus 4 times 1 plus 5 times 3. And if you add all that, you should be able to get 22. So let's just do that quickly. So 3 times 1, that is 3. 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4. So 4 plus 3, that is 7. Okay. So this first part here is 7. So 7 plus 5 times 3 is 15. So 15 plus 7 will give us 22. Right? Gives us 22. You can double check that with your calculator. Now, let's move on to the next number. You're also going to proceed the same way. So here, you're going to have 3 times, this is in the column of aluminum components. So you're going to have 3 times 3 here, because the number associated with a medium relationship is 3. So that's going to be 3 times 3, and your answer will be written down here. 3 times 3, 9. So 9 here is the response. Okay, let's double check 27 here. 27 here is in the column of autofocus. So here you don't have a symbol there, so we leave that one. So now if you take 4 times 4 times 3, 4 times 3 plus 5 times 3, that is going to be what? 4 times 3 is 12, right? And 5 times 3 is 15. So 15 plus 12 gives us 27. So this are what you call our importance ratings, and the highest number here is the priority, where resources need to be gathered in order to ensure that the materials, are ready in order to be able to meet the customer's requirements based on this product. Now, once you have this, you can extend your house of quality a little bit further. You see on this side here, as I was saying, this is the competitive assessment. This is the current product. These are the customer requirements. You can also go to the market and identify some product, right? Some product that your competitors currently have, on the market. And then you are going to compare, right? Or check how those companies' product, are able to meet or to satisfy this customer want here. So that's why here you have company A. So it's like company A, product A, something like that. Company B. Now, the legend that you are going to use here is what you call good, fair, and poor. So that's why we have GFP. Now, this is how best these companies' product are able to satisfy this customer want here. In this case, we have, for instance, lightweight. Company A. How company A is satisfying lightweight, right? So you say good. In this case here, it say good. Based on your own analysis, if you are building this from scratch, you might say poor, for instance, right? So again, this depends on you and your team and your understanding of the of your competitor's product. You see company B here, in terms of satisfying this lightweight requirement here, they are poor, right? In terms of satisfying this lightweight requirement. In this case also, you can also put your product here so that you can also do a competitive analysis, right? And see how these companies and your products are able to satisfy this customer's requirement. So this one usually comes in the assignments, but not in the test. But I'll just give you an idea on, you also need to understand, because you never know. But usually this part doesn't come in the test, the competitive analysis. Usually once you are done with our importance ratings, you are done with building the house of quality at your level. So this is how you build a house of quality. Now, obviously, as I said, for the purpose of marking our assessment, you will be provided with a statement, right? Or usually it's a case study. You'll be provided with a case study with all the information that you need. You will also be provided with the template. So this template or a template like this will be provided. And what you need to do at that point will be now to extract the information from the statement or the case study and then complete or fill in the template, and that you'll be building a house of quality. So in other questions, but I never asked this before, from a house of quality that is already built, you can also create a case study from there. So moving from a house of quality that is built, for instance, now, and then you can create a case study from that house of quality. So I think these are the things that you can do for the assignment, but you guys already have the assignment up and running, so there is no need for that. But in some instances, you should be able to, move from a house of quality that is already built and create a statement or create a case study from there. But mostly you'll be moving from the case study to building a house of quality by filling in the template. So that's how it's going to work in the upcoming test. Because in that case, we'll be sure that all of you guys will come up with the same house of quality, and that will be easy for me to mark. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions based on that part of the house of quality? I know it could be tricky. Remember, I told you that, okay, let's just leave this part of the house of quality. We'll deal with it at the end of the session, or the slide, the chapter, because I knew that it could create some kind of confusion there. So obviously what you guys are going to do, you're going to go and you can watch the recording again. I will try to post the recording online so that you can watch it again and try to understand what I'm explaining here. And obviously we're going to have how do you call this? Another session this week. And this week we're going to have a case study on the house of quality so that I can, go back and see how to address certain area and explain again, because it will be an opportunity to go back to what I have already explained and explain again so that those who do not understand will be able to understand from there. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have any questions? I can see in the chat here we don't have questions, so let's take the attendance register and then we can leave, and then I will see you on Wednesday. But Wednesday I'm gonna post a case study on Moodle, right? Probably tomorrow. And that is the case study that we are going to analyze on Wednesday, right? So that we can understand the house of quality. So let's take the attendance. So after signing your attendance, please, you may leave the session. So let me do this. Announcement. But don't worry, guys, even if it's not clear to you now, don't worry. I believe by Wednesday you should get a proper understanding of this. And for your information as well, tutorial, you guys gonna have tutorial this week. We're gonna have tutorial this week, and the tutorial will be based on the house of quality. So this is another opportunity for you also to get a better or get more insight around building a house of quality. So please do not miss that tutorial session. Right, so yeah, and the other thing that you guys should do, obviously when we are having these classes, our classes, the tutors are not there, you know. What time is it now? 12:25. Okay, 12, let's say to 12. I'm gonna give you guys 15 minutes. 12, 12 for a 12. Okay, let's say 12:40. 12:14. Allow students to record their own attendance. Yes. It puts true. So the password is true. Include a QR code. Not necessary. You guys will just input number 2 there as the password. Yeah, so what I was saying there is that please attend the tutorial so that I don't know when is your tutorial. I don't know if it's tomorrow, after tomorrow, on Friday. So that if there is anything that you feel like probably the tutor explained and is probably different from what I'm also explaining, you should be able to spot that, and then we can clear the confusion out. Because I had this issue with the previous test. There were some explanation that were provided there during the tutorial that was not really what I said during our classes. So again, it's now your responsibility to double check whether we are aligned, and then we can clear out any confusion before the assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's what I needed to tell you. Please sign the register, and I'll see you when I see you. Out.